Thank you, Megan. So we also have with us a recent graduate who is working on answering some of those questions that Megan raised. And so she lives and works here in Southern Oregon and is struggling to make ends meet with her current student debt loan. Sarah Westover, thank you so much for being here.
Hi folks, my name is Sarah Westover. I'm a community organizer, a working class Oregonian, and I, like many of my peers, am drowning in student debt. As a relatively recent college grad, I know the impact of student debt all too well. I graduated from Southern Oregon University in 2010 with honors, and also with a really hefty debt load of over $25,000. Like many other students from the Rogue Valley, I entered school as a low-income, first-generation college student. And although I worked while attending school, received scholarships, and received the Oregon Opportunity Grant, it was not enough to offset the intimidating amount of money I had to borrow just to meet the basics. Students in Oregon and all across the nation are facing skyrocketing tuition and are graduating with more debt than ever before in history. This is largely due to divestment in higher education at the state level. In Oregon, years of ongoing budget cuts to our community colleges and universities have led to skyrocketing tuition in this state and all across the nation. In the past 25 years, the cost of tuition in Oregon has gone up by more than 400%. Accounting for inflation, the state is paying 66% less today than it was 20 years ago, leaving students to pick up the rest of the tab for their education. The average Oregon student will be $27,000 in debt by the time they graduate just with a four-year degree. And while tuition is exploding, wages are stagnating. Oregonians are drowning in student loan debt, making the need for living wage jobs, especially in Southern Oregon, ever more pressing. I myself am currently struggling to make my monthly payments. I was speaking with some other folks while we started today, and while I was preparing my statement last night, I realized, oh, it's the 15th. I have to make my student loan payment. And thoughts start to course through my head, like how will this impact the money that I have left for food for the rest of the month? How will I have money to put in the car for gas to get to work? These are difficult decisions I have to make on a monthly basis on how to best allocate my small nonprofit salary. The monthly payment I can afford only serves to pay down the interest that I accrue each month on my student loan debt. So while I've been in repayment on my student loans for 3 years, I've not touched the principal. That's pretty demoralizing. Oregonians need jobs that will not only help them afford the basic cost of living, but also take into account the average debt load per household, which is expanding every year due to student debt. With the wage gap growing ever wider every year, the need for higher education has become more important. We tend to think of higher education as the great equalizer. It has the ability to level the playing field for traditionally marginalized communities, for working class people, for working families, low-income folks. But when we deprioritize funding for higher education and need-based aid, it's our low-income students and working families who are hit the hardest. In face of staggering tuition increases, there are very few programs that offer aid for low-income folks. The Oregon Opportunity Grant, which is Oregon's only need-based financial aid, is chronically underfunded. And as Megan said earlier, only 2 out of every 10 Oregonians who are eligible for the grant actually receive it due to a lack of funding. As a low-income student who received the Oregon Opportunity Grant to go to school, I believe that that's what this fund truly provides: opportunity. I don't know that I would have made the commitment to completing my degree without this extra assistance. The Oregon Opportunity Grant saved me from accruing an additional $10,000 in student debt. Oregonians need a sustainable source of funding to help mitigate the costs of higher education. And that's why I support Measure 86, the Oregon Opportunity Initiative. This measure will increase the state's bonding capacity to create a sustainable source of funding for the Oregon Opportunity Grant, meaning that more Oregonians will have the opportunity to access higher education. For me, a college education wasn't just about getting the skills I needed to find a job. My education was an integral part of my development as an activist, as a critical thinker, and as a well-rounded individual. I believe that all people should have this opportunity, and not just those who can afford it. Thank you.